All right, everyone, today we're reacting to one of the most shocking moments of the offseason. Reggie Miller dropped a bombshell analysis about the Warriors trading for Jimmy Butler and the absolutely wild move by the Lakers, sending Anthony Davis to get Luka Doncic and Mark Williams. Are the Warriors now the favorites in the West? And did the Lakers make the right move betting on Luka? We're breaking it all down in detail, giving our opinions, and seeing how these trades could completely change the NBA landscape. So hit that like button and stick around until the end, because this discussion is going to get heated.
Well, there's retooling, and then there's this. The Lakers added a perennial All-NBA first-team MVP candidate in Luka Doncic, and a guy that reportedly has the longest reach in the NBA in Mark Williams. This week, we heard from Luka Doncic and LeBron James, so let's check in with them.
Honestly, it was hard first. That first day was really hard. I felt like this last 48 hours was 1 month. Like 2 days ago was 1 month ago. So emotionally, it was really hard. But every day that like today was much better. I'm just very happy to be here for this opportunity. It's the Lakers. It's one of the best clubs in history. So I'm excited to be here. I had my amazing moments in Dallas. With all my teammates, coaches, and most importantly, the fans. They always supported me, and it was an amazing journey. It's just like a dream come true. I always look up to him. There's so many things I can learn from him, and I'm just excited. Just to learn everything, and now I get to play with him. So it's an amazing feeling.
I've seen you all up until this one. I've never been a part of one. Transaction like that, that was different.
Already there was some debate around this team, right, about how much of your future do you sacrifice to kind of go all in and kind of maximize your window. Any concerns that because you brought in a young star, that some of these priorities kind of might shift more towards the future rather than the present?
What's wrong with that? If I had concerns, I would have waived my no trade clause and got up out of here.
Well, LeBron James knows what it's like to join the Lakers and win a championship, and the expectations that are there. Obviously, the biggest move in Lakers history, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Shaquille O'Neal brought the franchise 8 of their championships, and their moves have brought 12 overall. Luka Doncic at 25 years young, joining that group as far as the expectations. So, Chris, Lakers also traded for 23-year-old center Mark Williams. Do they have any moves left before 3 p.m. today at the deadline?
You want some more from the Lakers? God.
I'm asking if it's possible. I look and I'm like, the clip has to be empty, but I thought it was empty before the Luka trade and after the Luka trade, and then they went and got Mark Williams.
I can't sit here and say for sure that they're done, but I would think that they are. I mean, look, you look at everything, we were talking off air about, Channing was just praising Rob Pelinka, asking him, is this his contract year?
Yeah, this is his contract year. He acting up. Hey, he acting up.
Now, Pelinka has pulled off a lot. And I have my concerns as far as the basketball fit, like how long is it going to take for Luka and LeBron to mesh well and play together? I think this experiment as far as like trying to figure this out, it goes into next season. I don't know that they can figure this out in the second half of the season and trying to gel, but one thing that the Lakers wanted to address was the future. And that's why I agree with those who say that Dallas probably won this in the short term, but the Lakers got this for the long term.
Channing, when I hear that, offensively, LeBron and Luka on the same court seems unfair. But defensively, when I look at the Lakers, I'm like, who and how are they going to stop anyone? So what do you think of their chances this season and what they could be and who they are?
They're just going to be what they are this year. I just think you can't magically ask somebody who's 40 years old to get faster. You can't ask Luka to be somebody he's not. I think Dorian Finney-Smith is a very solid. You look at this roster. Vanderbilt's a solid defender. Hachimura's a solid defender. Reeves is underrated defender. Williams is solid when he's out there. They have defensive-minded guys. But the problem is, Luka is not very defensive-minded, and how much are you going to rely on LeBron James to be defensive-minded while he just stands in the corner and lets Luka do his thing? So for me, that's where I get it. It's LeBron's never been just a run up and down and do cardio guy in the basketball court. So I think they are going to take their time trying to figure that out. But if you take this roster, let's say in a year or two you remove LeBron from that, think about how many free agents are now going to want to go play. And this is neither here nor there, but Kyrie's up in a year, right? You think about all the guys that are going to be up, and now you have Luka on the Lakers with a rebuilding team. So for me, and this is not probably the right thing to say, I don't even care what happens this year. If I'm Rob Pelinka, I go, hey, what more do you want from me? You had a hamburger deal, and now you got a lobster meal.
Well,
now what?
To what Channing just said, right?
I do like that.
25-year-old Luka Doncic, 23-year-old Mark Williams. When you say, hey, as a GM, building for the future, that's exactly what the Lakers have done here, even though they have 40-year-old LeBron James on the roster.
We're still about 2 hours before the trade deadline, Chris, but to me, the LA Lakers are the clear winner of trade deadline week with the Luka Doncic acquisition. 25-year-old first-team All-NBA stars in their prime do not get traded. The Lakers landed him on Saturday night. And then Mark Williams was a guy, as I do all these lists and rankings of centers who may be available, we talked about Nikola Vucevic, DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, and other. I did not have Mark Williams on that list because I didn't think the Charlotte Hornets would trade him. I just thought there was no scenario in which, with a rebuilding situation in Charlotte, alongside LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller, I thought Charlotte would build around those three guys. So for the Lakers to get both of those guys, I agree with Channing. When you have LeBron James, the present obviously does matter. But the Lakers gave themselves a chance to be more competitive now with Luka, with LeBron, with Mark Williams, have a chance to make the playoffs and compete in this playoffs. But really, Chris, it's about the next iteration of Lakers basketball. And their biggest needs to me were rebounding and defense after they made the AD trade. They addressed those moves late last night with the Mark Williams deal.
So two things there, right? Because they say availability is the best ability. And for Mark Williams, 3 years into his career, he's played just 85 games. And also there have been concerns about his effort on the defensive end in particular. What do you make of those two warts, if you will, that have followed?
Wasn't he in Charlotte? They play defense? Okay, I'm just checking. All right, go ahead.
No, what I would say is the injury concerns, I think, are legitimate. And obviously, nobody knows more about Mark Williams' medical history than the Charlotte Hornets, which I imagine was a significant factor in them trading him to the Lakers. But as far as the defense and the effort, what I will say, to Channing's point, is if I watch a Charlotte Hornets game and then watch an LA Lakers game with LeBron James and Luka Doncic and Crypto.com going nuts, I think Mark Williams' effort will be fine going forward. I don't have any concern about his effort. Playing in Charlotte with that G League team, no, but playing in the Lakers with those two future Hall of Famers, I think he'll play as hard as possible.
Yeah, it's crazy to see the Charlotte Hornets trade Nick Richards and Mark Williams both before the trade deadline. For the Mavs, they are waiting for Anthony Davis to potentially make his debut. Nico Harrison has made 5 impactful trades in the last 2 years that has completely transformed the Dallas Mavericks. Here's AD on joining Dallas.
I was in shock, obviously. Had no idea that, it was happening. But I mean, now is, I'm kind of over it and just kind of, getting ready to play with Dallas. Just knowing these guys and knowing how hard they play, know how great they are defensively, what I can bring to the defensive end and what I can bring to the offensive end as well. I mean, J. Kidd, I had him in L.A., does. So I'm pretty familiar with the offense and defensive schemes that they run. Obviously, there's little tweaks, that he brought here for himself, but for the most part, I'm very excited.
Well, a lot to be excited about if you're an NBA fan, particularly all these moves. But for the Dallas Mavericks, obviously losing Luka Doncic, huge deal. But this season, you think they're in great position to compete for a championship?
I definitely do. I think they have the pieces. I think they're a well-rounded team. AD, for the longest, probably his whole career, has made it known that he wants to play alongside a center. He doesn't want to play the center position. He has a plethora of centers there in Dallas. And then you bring Kyrie to his natural position at the point guard spot. And Kyrie and AD, I think they're going to do wonders on the offensive end, pick and roll game, pick and pop game. Defensively, I think they're better. They're versatile. You got multiple shot blockers on the court, most of the game. And so I think they're going to be a real force. And again, they have a window. And so you look at Nico Harrison. And listen, I know Nico is getting a bunch of flack for making this trade, but, I think at the end of the day, he and that organization, they know something. They know something. There was a reason why this trade was made, and so they feel comfortable moving forward with this group.
Yeah, I just don't think you make trades like Kyrie or Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington, which is one of the biggest all-star trades I've seen make a huge impact on a team. And then this happens, and all of a sudden you think he's like, somebody was hoaxing us, right? When I look at this, I think they still need to address a true point guard. I think Spencer is solid, but Kyrie playing a true point guard, you're taking away what he's really great at, and that's really just scoring the basketball. He's been a lot better this year at facilitating, but to me, there has to be a guard out there where you can put him out there as the kind of role player where he's going to get guys involved, allow Kyrie to play that two guard position, and I think it also will help your bench. But to me, the makeup of this team is great. They wanted to go big. They wanted to go defensive-minded. They have champions on this team, which a lot of people are taking for granted. This is a championship caliber team from top to bottom, from Clay to Kyrie to AD to even Lively and Gafford, who went to the finals last year. So to me, he's like, how are we different, and how are we a better overall team in the vision that I see this team being?
You know, Ryan, when I hear all the things that Channing says, there are two parts to that, right? You look at their roster and you go, okay, this guy has won a championship, or this guy has been to the finals. All of those guys seem to have championship experience, including the guys that went to the finals last year. But bringing in Caleb Martin, a guy who with the Miami Heat won the Eastern Conference Finals most outstanding player, they just brought him in, but they were able to bring him in because Anthony Davis did not waive his, he waived his trade kicker. Can you explain how that money worked out and how they were able to add another player like Caleb Martin?
Well, it didn't work out very well for Anthony Davis because he left about $5 or $6 million on the table to keep Dallas under the tax, and then they did the deal with Philadelphia for Caleb Martin and went right back over the tax. So I wonder if AD's sitting there saying, "Wait a minute, where's my money?"
Change in the sofa for AD, man.
So where's my money?
But you know, I think Dallas will continue to be active, Chris, over the next couple hours. I feel like they need to add
to that first, Reggie. Well, you just heard Chris Haynes report DeAndre Hunter potentially to the Cavs. Rich getting richer. What do you make of that potential deal?
Channing knows this best. This is a copycat league, right? And what everyone is trying to do is match up to what Boston's doing and all those wings. Tatum, Brown, Holiday. You try to match up Derek White. So I think a lot of these teams, and you saw the Knicks do that. They go out and get Mikal Bridges. They re-sign OG. So they have long wings, athletic wings where you can do a lot of switching. You get 3-and-D type guys. Boy, that is a loaded weapon if DeAndre Hunter finds his way to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Another destination I would love to see DeAndre Hunter in is possibly out west with the Denver Nuggets. I think he would be a perfect fit with the Nuggets as well. His style of play, what he brings, I think he'd be a perfect complement to the Joker. DeAndre Hunter is a hot name out there, but if he falls with the Cleveland Cavaliers, man, that is a loaded squad building up those wings to potentially try to go after the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, DeAndre Hunter now the hottest name of the day here on the NBA trade deadline. Jimmy Butler, the hottest name for the Heat in the past 2 months. Now member of the Golden State Warriors. That was last night's All-Star move. How much of an impact do you think he can have on Golden State and Steph Curry?
Well, I think, number one, he's going to take pressure offensively off Stephen Curry. We've seen games recently where Stephen has just looked gassed, right? He's triple teamed. Defense are loading up to him because there's not enough scoring or shooting on the floor. Again, a lot of that has to do with the injury to Jonathan Kuminga as well, not being on the floor over the last several weeks. So it's been difficult. So what Jimmy Buckets does, he comes in, he's going to allow Curry to rest at times offensively. Not known as a great three-point shooter, but very capable. So you add offense. We know the toughness, right? That's how he really made his name was initially as a 3-and-D type player. So we know he's going to play defense. I think it's a great fit. Again, there's not a lot of time to integrate him because we know Kerr and the Warriors like to play with a lot of pace, space. Is he going to be able to catch, move? That remains to be seen. But offensively and defensively, he will help the Warriors right now.
Well, the Anthony Davis, Luka Doncic trade being touted as the most shocking in NBA history. What do you make of that particular assessment?
I agree. I think it caught us all off guard, right? Everyone was just chilling on the weekend. Shannon was putting on his nice white Saturday Night Fever outfit, getting ready to go to the club, and his phone is all blinging. What's the deal? Yes, I think we were all caught off guard. And look, there's a lot of ifs on my end on both sides. And it all comes down to health on both sides, right? Because Luka's been out for since Christmas, over a month now. And we've seen the results of him not playing for Dallas. It's been very difficult. Now you've got AD. Potentially he could play tonight. I think he's a game time decision. But going forward, I still think this is a great trade for Dallas as well. I think they are 2 to 3 deep defensively at every position. Nico is somewhat right. Defense does win championships. But at the end of the day, you do got to put the ball in the basket and score. I understand that. But especially in playoff basketball, when the game kind of shortens down and closes half court, defense is at a premium, and the Mavericks, they can win now. But you still got to put the ball in the basket. And last time I checked, Luka was one of the best to do it at the age of 25. And one thing I've kind of taken offense to a little bit, because I was critical of Luka too. I felt that he needed to be in better shape, but I don't like the character assassination on him floating from the Mavericks. If it's coming from the Mavericks about the reason why we traded him, he wasn't in great shape, his conditioning, he would never get in shape. You guys know this. At least I hope you do. You don't become a first team All-NBA player 5 years in a row if you're not in shape. So please stop the character assassination that this guy's out of shape, he's lazy. I don't like that, because you don't get at the level at the age of 25 without doing what he's done. So there's other things behind the scenes that I'm sure we don't know about, but let's not make it about conditioning, because you don't get to where he's at being a first team All-NBA player 5 years in a row at the age of 25 by not being in shape.
Reggie, I got a question. Everyone's talking about the fit, right? The fit between, Bron and Luka. My question is, how does Jason Kidd reassess his team? He has to now re-coach this team a completely different way, the Dallas Mavericks, because now he can't just give it to Luka and say, operate the offense. Now he has to go and operate this offense free throw line and under with Anthony Davis. Now, how do you see the fit? Which fit do you see being better for both situations?
In the short term, I think the better fit is Dallas. I think the ball will be in Kyrie's hands more. I think Spencer Dinwiddie will probably get a little bit more burn now at that point guard position. But to me, defensively, and it's funny how just a year ago, Nico Harrison was being lauded as a great general manager. He made 2 unbelievable moves at the trade deadline a year ago that got them into the finals, getting PJ Washington and getting Gafford, right? I mean, those 2 pieces helped them make the NBA finals. So yeah, they will play free throw level down. They will play through AD. They won't play as fast. But again, defensively, in the short term, it will work for Dallas. The question will be for the Lakers is, LeBron ball dominant, Luka ball dominant. And then the way that Austin Reeves, he was being the facilitator for the Lakers up until this point. Something will give. JJ Redick will find a way to make it work. Luka, LeBron, they're too talented not to make it work between each other. I just think it'll be a slower process. That is a sneaky move for them to go out and get Mark Williams, though, from Charlotte, because why Dallas was so successful on their run to the finals is throwing it to Lively, throwing it to Gafford every time Luka got into the paint. So now you have that lob threat, bringing in Mark Williams in that trade for Dalton Knecht, sending him to Charlotte. So that's a sneaky good move that Rob Pelinka to back up that Luka move.
All right, Reggie Miller on the call tonight, and Anthony Davis potentially making his Mavericks debut. And the news is that Luka Doncic potentially making his Lakers debut against your Indiana Pacers. So that's something to look forward to this weekend. Reggie Miller, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
You know what's crazy?
You're staying alive,
I
aren't you?
was at the Oregon Ballet Gala, and I was in a full suit.
I thought that was a discoteca is what they call it.
Discoteca. I'm not in Arizona. I'm in Portland. No. But dude, the whole gala stopped and was like, Channing, did you see this? When everyone thought it was a hoax. Everyone thought it was a joke.
Oh, I thought you said when you walked in, everyone was like, look at
They were
Channing,
like,
do you
dang,
see
God,
this?
who's this looking fresh? Who is this?
Let's get back to business, Ryan, and we'll talk the $112 million extension for Jimmy Butler. That was something that was reported in one way, as in Jimmy Butler not interested in an extension, but then the money on the table for him to go to Golden State Warriors, waive that player option, and has a 2-year extension. How concrete is that?
Yeah, I think it's going to get done, Chris. It seemed like Jimmy Butler had his heart set on going to the Phoenix Suns up until yesterday, about 24 hours before the trade deadline, when Jimmy realized he was not going to be able to end up in Phoenix, primarily because the Suns weren't able to trade Bradley Beal, who has one of the NBA's 2 no-trade clauses. So Beal controlled the situation. The Suns weren't able to find a home for him, which means Jimmy couldn't go to the desert. So then I think going back to Miami was not palatable for Jimmy or the Heat, and Golden State became the second best option. So we can and will talk about trade deadline winners and losers.
Right over here, the busiest man in basketball, our senior insider, Shams Charania, has taught us anything. It's that anything this week is possible. And I promise, I'm not just channeling my inner KG here. I do mean anything. Because this is how the NBA landscape looked at this time a week ago. It was up against a cacophony of, it's never been more difficult to cook up a big move. There's too many aprons. Well, then the general manager said, okay, bet. Watch us, because fast forward to now, 9 former or current All-Stars have been traded so far, and there are still deals that are being made. It doesn't matter, by the way, if you're a champion or a perennial MVP candidate, your phone can ring at any time. The league is still buzzing about Kevin Durant's future. Between now and the deadline, our front office insider Bobby Marks standing by, working through all the machinations of how each potential transaction it could pan out. I mean, they do not call him the wizard of the trade machine for nothing. We also have our boots on the ground, reporters across the country here, our trio of California-based reporters to examine every angle of this week's blockbuster deals with the Lakers and the Golden State Warriors. But from how it happened to how it's going to look, that's why we got the best in the business. Chiney Ogwumike, Udonis Haslem here on the court to break it all down. And then, my friends, you know these guys. This is Kendrick Perkins, our senior writer, Brian Windhorst. He is the 2-time Executive of the Year, Bob Myers. I'm Malika Andrews. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get it. Because when a trade happens between now and the deadline, my friends, you are going to hear this sound. And there is no person that we're going to hear more from in all of that than our senior insider, Shams Charania, who joins us now. Shams, what are you watching most closely as we inch towards the trade deadline?
Malika, I think all eyes around the NBA are certainly on the Phoenix Suns, because of what's transpired over the last several days. But from what I'm told, there are multiple teams making really aggressive calls to the Suns on Kevin Durant. Obviously, we know what has happened. He has made it clear, that he did not want a reunion with the Warriors. The Warriors made a very strong pursuit of him over the last week, and several calls are continuing to pour in. One thing I do want to clarify, Kevin Durant has not requested a trade, and it's my understanding most of all of these conversations this week have been somewhat blindsiding, because going into this week and this season, I don't think a trade was something he was thinking about. He has wanted to stay in Phoenix. And another situation to monitor as well, Atlanta with what they could do. DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Clint Capella, all veteran players that teams are calling on. Okay, Atlanta and Phoenix. Shams, thank you so very much. We'll let you get back to hitting the phones as we bring it back inside our studios here. Aggressive calls, Shams is saying here on Kevin Durant. Brian, how do we get to this point?
Aggressive calls.
Is that like a volume or like an offer?
You've had some aggressive calls.
Yeah, I've received some aggressive calls.
Yeah. So the thing is, the Suns were in a spot. They're a 500 team. They are in the second apron. They were having difficulty trying to figure out how to improve. They tried for weeks to find a way to trade Bradley Beal. They could not find a way to trade Bradley Beal. Mm-hmm. Kevin Durant is eligible for an extension this summer. They aren't really sure how that's going to go. They had painted themselves into a corner. So when they realized they couldn't trade Bradley Beal, they started having discussions with the Golden State Warriors about moving Kevin Durant there. Now, Everybody can play the game that they want to play about who called whom. At the end of the day, they were making a deal for Kevin Durant. The Miami Heat, for weeks, as you know, were trying to trade Jimmy Butler. After all kinds of calls, they found a package that they liked, and that package belonged to the Golden State Warriors. So really what this became was a game between the Warriors, the Suns, and the Heat involving Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, and Andrew Wiggins. And they put a deal together, and they were, again, everybody's going to have their story about how close they were, but there was a point where it looked like Kevin Durant might be headed for a reunion. And Kevin Durant didn't like the sound of that. And Kevin Durant let it be known that he didn't want to go back to Golden State. And so when that fell apart, and the Suns kind of came out of it, there was still that deal that had been negotiated between the Warriors and the Heat.
Right.
And we know that the Warriors have been trying to trade for a star going back a year. Last trade day, last summer, Kevin Durant. After missing a bunch of times, they finally decided, let's get the deal we can make with Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler wanted the Suns, but part of the reason he wanted the Suns is they were willing to give him a contract extension. So what did the Warriors do to make sure they could get this deal done?
Boom.
They negotiated a contract extension. So here we have an imperfect deal, but we still have Jimmy Butler out and the Warriors adding a star. And now we watch to see what happens with Kevin Durant. And also where he's going to be mentally after being involved in trade talks.
And that's the question, because in the simplest terms possible, the Phoenix Suns are on the outside of this deal looking in. They do not want to trade. They will not trade Devin Booker. That is their franchise cornerstone. They have been unable to trade Bradley Beal. And so then you look around and say, okay, well, here's Kevin Durant. Bob, you know Kevin Durant well. Perk, you played with Kevin Durant. Mentally, I just imagine when you hear your name in trade talks like that, feeling like you've accomplished what you have, no player is untouchable, but how does that impact a locker room and an organization now?
Quite a bit. I mean, especially for somebody of his caliber. You can argue where he will go down in the history of the NBA, but I would put him at least in the top 10 of best ever to play. And so I saw Kevin 3 weeks ago. Okay, so I saw Kevin at a football game a few weeks ago, and I asked him before all this, and I said, hey, are you good? Are you happy? And he said to my face, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to be traded. And I believe it. And I believe he has felt that way all along. But then when you hear your name being mentioned out of, for him at least, I think it was a shock. He was kind of like, I didn't push for this. I didn't ask for this. And then to hear all the people speculating on the Warriors, I actually think the Warriors did the right thing by honoring Kevin's request. Kevin could have gone anywhere in 2016. Any team he wanted to go to, he could have went to. He went to the Warriors, and he's the only person in that whole equation that took criticism for it. I didn't. Joe Lacob didn't. Steve Kerr didn't. Steph Curry didn't. Draymond Green didn't. Only Kevin was the one that faced scrutiny. So whatever Kevin would want, had I still been with the Warriors, Kevin would get. He brought 2 championships, tried for a third, ended up getting hurt in that pursuit, 2 finals MVPs. So I like that the Warriors said, we hear you, we wanted you, we respect that you don't want to be here, that's fine. But now if you're Kevin, right, to your question, you're sitting there going, hang on a second here. I am doing what you pay me to do. I'm playing basketball. I'm playing at a very good, high rate. And now I hear my name being mentioned. So he's a human being. You know, we try to mythologize. He's a guy. So, Perk, you know him. I mean, you played. I'm not a player. I don't know. But I imagine as a human being, you're kind of shaken up.
Well, I was a player, but I wasn't that type of player. Make no mistake about it. But the question is why? Why? We're talking about the guy that self-proclaimed himself the God, right, on social media, and Kevin Durant. And now you're in talks with being traded. Look, here's the thing right now. Obviously, they're picking a side, and they're going with Devin Booker, rightfully so. The thing is with KD is I'm trying to see what's been happening over the last few years where we would have never thought that a team would say, you know what, Kevin Durant is available. By the way, he's averaging 27 and a half points per game right now. KD is available. You remember everybody got their panties in a bunch? When I said one day on Countdown, I said it's Steph Curry and LeBron James, and it's everybody else. Oh, you disrespecting KD? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. It's a real thing, and here we are.
There's 2 things you should know about any kind of KD situation before 3 o'clock. One is he makes $51 million. In the NBA, there's all kinds of trade rules. It's not simple to put together a trade for a $51 million player. It took the Warriors and Heat and Suns days and days and days to make it happen, and it didn't happen. The second thing is he has a contract situation. His contract is up in a year, And typically, this is a time where you would know. You'd either extend or you would move on. And so the Suns need to maybe have a conversation with Kevin about the situation and about where he's at.
Well, and also I would say, if anybody's question is why is this happening?
Yeah.
The Suns are, I don't know, they're 500, right?
Right.
So they can't trade Bradley Beal, but that's on them. That is on them. They made a trade for a player that has a no trade clause. So when you do that, you are married to that person, and they can do whatever they want. So Phoenix Suns, when you made that move, you can't expect to be able to trade Bradley Beal. You're not trading Devin Booker. They're 500. They're looking around going, well, what else are we going to do? I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's the why of it. They're saying this isn't good enough. Durant's our only piece that can bring back anything. But to what you said, he's got 1 year left. So we're hearing his name get batted around.
And how we were so stunned that nobody knew about the Luka trade?
Yeah.
And I think actually the Mavericks took less in the package because they didn't let the Lakers talk to Luka. They took less. This is why. Because they didn't want Luka to find out, and then if the deal didn't go through, to have a fallout from it. That's why they did it this way. You can criticize it, but that's why they did it.
What Bobby is? What Bobby
right here.
He's right here. He's here.
Speaking of the Mavs, I want to know how KD and can the Phoenix Suns and the Mavs make a deal to get KD? Bobby?
Well, here's the yeah, listen, after we saw Luka get traded the other night, I think anything can happen here. The hard part is getting that money to match. And certainly when you look at Kevin Durant at $51 million, and we're not including Anthony Davis or Kyrie Irving, you're basically stacking all these players, whether it be Klay Thompson or P.J. Washington, Daniel Gafford, right? You got to get to that $51 million number to get there. They're 171 below the first apron here. They do have 3 first-round picks, but as Brian said, making an in-season trade when you're trading 4 for 1 and then have to replenish your roster becomes awfully challenging. I honestly, if we're just talking about teams, I think the Houston Rockets make the most sense.
Interesting.
Because here's what Houston has. Houston has all of Phoenix's draft picks in 2025, 2027, and 2029. And if Phoenix wants a soft rebuild, that's how you start doing it here.
Let me speak to that. The Rockets, the message that they have sent out is that they love their young team.
Yes.
They do not want to do something like that now. We'll see what happens in the summer after you see them in the playoffs. Here's something else. One thing that could have happened yesterday after the three-way deal broke down is the Heat could have done a deal with the Suns for Kevin Durant. That there was some interest between the Heat and Kevin Durant. And the Suns communicated a request to the Heat, and it was, from what I understand, a massive request. Picks, swaps, young players. It would have been very difficult, and the Heat said, we like our Wiggins deal.
Well, then they don't want to trade him.
Okay.
Then they don't want to trade him.
Yeah.
If their asking price is as high as it is, then they don't want to trade him, right? That's how I look at that.
And I think the asking price is so high, Bob, because of what they gave up to get him.
Fine. Well, then they got to go with what they got.
Here's another question to ask. What is KD and Devin Booker relationship looking like right now? Because that's huge in this factor, right? Because if I'm Devin Booker, a guy that went to the finals a few years ago, and you got Kevin Durant here, am I really trying to go in a different direction than the guy that's going to give me 27 to 30 points a night?
It's a good thing we have 4 hours to dive into it, and I'm hearing Ramona Shelburne has the answer to exactly.
Davis. This deal materialized in the shadows. Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis, LeBron James had no idea this was coming.
This was the biggest trade in NBA history.
LeBron has dreamed about playing with Luka Doncic for years.
Dallas Mavericks, clearly you lost all faith in Luka Doncic.
Dallas won it for the now, and the Lakers won it for the future.
Oh, but the Lakers, they weren't done. Late last night, LA continued what was already one of the most consequential weeks in franchise history by acquiring center Mark Williams in a trade with the Charlotte Hornets. That's what our Shams Charania reported. Now, Williams is averaging 16 and 10 on 60% shooting in 23 games this season. So let's just take a look at what this full deal looks like. The Lakers received the 2022 15th pick in return for their 2024 first rounder. Fans were a little concerned about this one. Dalton Connect headed out, Cam Reddish, and an unprotected first, and then the 2030 pick swap as well. So I'm here with our Brian Windhorst, Ramona Shelburne, Dave McMenamin. Dave, you and I were sitting at a press conference a couple of days ago when Luka Doncic was introduced, and Rob Pelinka, the general manager of the Lakers, he said, or signified rather, you know, we don't know that there is a center on the market that we would be willing to put our big chips in on. Fast forward, that is exactly what they did. Why did they see this as the move?
Luka got to L.A. on Sunday night. On Monday, he met with Rob Pelinka, and he said, listen, I need a big that I can play and have a lob threat. It could be a mobile screener. Go get me one. And Rob Pelinka listened to him and got him one. And Mark Williams, 23 years old, he's going to grow with Luka. And this is about the future of the franchise, but it's also win now mode. LeBron and Luka have a lob threat.
Yeah, we heard Rob Pelinka say that the market for centers was dry, and I think it was. I don't think Mark Williams was actually available. I think the Lakers made him available by making an offer like this, and the Hornets couldn't turn it down. This is the bulk of their remaining assets. This is not a trade I think they would have made last week, obviously. I'm sure if you're Anthony Davis, you're saying, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I asked for a center for like a year, and now you guys go out and make this deal. He does have injury concerns. He's played 85 games in 2.5 seasons, but when he's on the court, he's the type of player that Dave was describing for Luka.
I will say this. The assets they were able to use in this deal are the assets that did not go to Dallas in the Luka deal.
That is exactly right.
Dalton Connect. Obviously, when Dallas first started having conversations with the Lakers, of course they asked for Dalton Connect. Of course they asked for both picks. But because they couldn't talk to Luka, because the Lakers couldn't loop in Luka and see if he wanted to be there, they were able to hold on more of their assets for a trade just like this.
Yeah, and now it's about not just bringing Luka in and trying to win in the now, but you got to get Luka to re-sign, right? And so this will be the type of player he's going to want to play with in LA beyond the next season and a half when he signs the new deal. That's very key here. And listen, the injury concern is valid to bring up. The Lakers believe that their new medical staff under Dr. Leroy Sims, who they hired in the offseason, can get under the hood there, get him ready to go work on his core stabilization. I had one Lakers source tell me that Mark Williams may be only scratching 60% of its potential thus far.
I mean, he's 23.
I believe that's possible. I'm not sure that the injuries is simply wiped away, but I will say Lakers are probably not done. I don't know if they'll be able to execute a trade. They have Maxi Kleber, who they just acquired.
Yeah.
He is available. They have a second-round pick that he's available. I don't think they want to. I think they want to see how Austin Reeves plays, but we'll see how Austin Reeves meshes in with LeBron and Luka. That could be somebody who becomes available in the summer if that doesn't go perfect.
I just want to underscore what you said, Dave, that as much as this is the talk this week has been Luka and the future of the franchise, clearly what they're doing is saying, no, we also want to win right now. And that is exactly what Lakers fans want to hear. Fans also want to know, how is it going to look on the floor, right? So that's the intel from our reporters. But how is it going to translate to the court? That's where we send it over to Chene and Udonis Haslam.
Let's get it. You know why I'm here. We're here to break down the new look Los Angeles Lakers. And I got my big bro with me. Let's go, UD. Because this is super fun. Let's start first and foremost with the superstars, all right? And that, of course, is LeBron James and Luka Doncic. And what I love about this, too, this duo between LeBron and Luka, is they combined for 52 points already and 17 assists, which generates at least 86 points of offense between those two guys. So run me my tape. And I think what we can expect a little bit more is LeBron James as a screener. Yes. And what are these opportunities potentially looking like? First of all, there's a short roll, which I love, and then he can get to his bag and hit a mid-range. Yes. But if the short roll is not available, UD, what he's able to do is read. So again, he initiates the offense inside, but he's big, he rolls, and he creates for others. That's going to be Mark Williams,
Whatever
right?
you do is wrong.
Yeah, exactly, because he has that basketball IQ. But again, like you said, this man, he can see everybody that's open and available. He sets another screen right here, and he's able to see the far corner. You see that pin down screen inside?
And then you switch and you got a small guard on him.
That's a problem, but more importantly, that nice read, that short roll turns into a three-point shot. So obviously that's LeBron James as a screener. But now we got a new addition, y'all.
Yes.
It's Mark Williams, and y'all, he's my little brother. I've known him. I've known the Williams family, and they're super excited about this. So, UD, why don't you break down who the Lakers got at center, 23 years old, 15 and 10.
I'm almost more excited than this as a Luka trade because this opens up the whole court for Luka. He loves vertical spacing, and we know Mark Williams can give him vertical spacing.
And let's see what it looks like on the court when he plays, of course. And so watch this. Yeah.
Come up, you set the pick and roll. Just give him a little bit. He doesn't even have to sprint to the basket because he has length, so he can get up to above the rim and go vertical at any point. That wasn't even high-paced pick and roll. That wasn't even fast. Now you come here. That's a la Derek Lively. That's what he loves. Now he goes. He gets two people on him. We know Luka can get in the paint against anybody. Just throw it up there. Just throw it up there anywhere. When you have a guy like Derek Lively or a guy like Mark Williams who has the longest standing reach in the NBA, yes, longer than Wemby, he can go get it at any point.
But there are two tiny little red flags. It might be right here with Luka and a little bit with Mark. We don't really worry too much about it, but I'll show you exactly what we're talking about because we know Luka Doncic, defensively, he will be challenged, especially when you see, you know, we talked about those numbers, the blow-bys. He's going to have to get low.
LeBron James will hold him accountable.
Absolutely. So this is an example right here. First and foremost, he goes out there, he sort of gambles, he's out of his stance, he sprints out defensively. This is the area that will keep them competitive. There's a blow by, again, the last 2 years, 44.7% of, his possessions, he was blown by.
You have 9-9 standing reach back there on the back line.
And people have been concerned because Mark Williams, I think, allows 53% at the rim, which is second worst in the NBA. But we don't care why. Because of what?
9-9 standing reach. There is length.
And it's, to be real,
And he's
it's Charlotte.
He's 23.
It was Charlotte.
He's young.
We give him a little bit of a pass, especially as a big sis. But we're very excited, UD and I, on this new look Los Angeles Lakers, Malika.
Good
Danae, thank you so very much. You can see the Lakers.
All right, we've finished reacting to the trades, and now I'm going to give my opinion on everything that was said and break down every detail of these swaps that could completely change the NBA. These are huge moves that directly affect the title race and even the future of the franchises involved. Let's get into it. First, let's talk about the Warriors acquiring Jimmy Butler. Does this move make sense? On paper, it seems like an interesting play because Butler brings a winning mentality, strong defense, and the ability to create plays in crucial moments. He's a guy who elevates his game in the playoffs, and the Warriors need exactly that to stay competitive. But the question is, how does he fit into their system? Golden State has always been a team based on ball movement, spacing, and three-point shooting. Jimmy Butler, on the other hand, is a player who excels in the mid-range game, isolation plays, and attacking the basket. He's not a great three-point shooter, so there's an adjustment needed here. If he's willing to adapt to the Warriors scheme and play within that style, it could be a deadly fit. But if he tries to impose his own game without adjusting to the system, it could create problems. Another crucial point is the chemistry with Draymond Green. Both have strong personalities and are known for holding their teammates accountable. This can be great for maintaining a high standard within the team, but it can also lead to conflicts. The Warriors have always been a team with strong chemistry, and any new player needs to fit in without disrupting that balance. Now about the Lakers trading Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic and Mark Williams. This is a massive move that completely changes the identity of the team. First of all, AD's departure means the Lakers are giving up one of the most dominant defenders in the league. The fit of Luka alongside LeBron could be phenomenal, but it raises important questions. Both are players who like to have the ball in their hands, so adapting to each other will be essential. Luka is one of the most absurd talents in the NBA, an elite playmaker who can carry an offense practically on his own. The problem is that, until now, he's never played alongside someone like LeBron. Can he adapt to sharing leadership and touches on the ball? And more importantly, can he be efficient without monopolizing offensive possessions? The arrival of Mark Williams is also an interesting point. He brings rim protection, something the Lakers will need a lot without AD. But the bigger question is that enough to keep the team in the title hunt? This trade only makes sense if Williams can cover the defense that AD offered, and if Luka can elevate the offense without compromising the team's defense. On the Mavericks side, this trade completely changes the team. They're betting that Anthony Davis can be the piece that was missing to take the team to the next level. If AD is healthy and playing at a high level, this could be one of the best trades in recent years for Dallas. But that's the big point, AD's health. He has a history of injuries that can't be ignored, and the Mavs are taking a huge risk by building their future around him. And now, talking about the overall impact of these trades on the league, it completely changes the balance of power in the West. The Warriors with Butler are once again a team that needs to be taken seriously as a title contender. The Lakers with Luka are clearly betting that he will be the face of the franchise in the post-LeBron era. And the Mavericks with AD are trying to build a contender around a dominant center. Each of these teams is taking a risk, and the success of these moves will depend on how the players adapt to the new scenarios. But which of these trades is the best? If Luka and LeBron can mesh their styles, the Lakers may have the biggest return in the short term. Luka is already a superstar and can elevate this team immediately. The Warriors can also benefit greatly if Butler can fit his game into the team's scheme. The Mavericks are taking the biggest risk because AD has a worrying history of injuries. If he's healthy, Dallas could have one of the best duos in the league with AD and Kyrie Irving, but if he misses a lot of games, the Mavs may end up worse off than they were before. Another interesting point, How do these trades affect the rest of the West? Teams like the Nuggets, Suns, and Clippers will need to react to these moves. Denver is still the team to beat, but if these new rosters work out, we could have one of the most balanced seasons in recent years. The Suns, for example, are betting on Kevin Durant staying, and any team that has KD on the roster needs to be taken seriously. But does Phoenix have the right supporting cast to compete with these new Lakers and Warriors? It's still too early to tell. And about the Warriors, this trade for Butler means they're still betting on the core of Steph, Klay, and Draymond. But how long can this trio sustain a title contending team? This could be a last attempt to extract one more ring before the Curry-Thompson-Green era comes to an end. Which also means that if this bet goes wrong, the Warriors may need to completely rethink their future. The Lakers, on the other hand, are already looking to the future with Luka. Even if LeBron leaves soon, they'll have a player to build around. The big question is, will Luka be able to lead this team when the time comes? He's already shown that he has talent, but he still needs to prove that he can win in the playoffs at a high level. If all goes well, these trades could create a new dynamic in the NBA. We may see rivalries reborn, more intense games, and who knows, new narratives emerging. But at the same time, if these bets go wrong, some of these franchises may find themselves in complicated situations in the coming years. In summary, all these trades are huge and have a tremendous impact on the league. The Warriors are betting everything on Butler to try for another title. The Lakers are preparing for the future with Luka while trying to compete now. And the Mavericks are taking a big risk with AD, hoping he stays healthy and takes the team to another level. Now I want to know your opinion. Which of these trades was the best? Who came out on top? Will the Warriors be back in the title hunt with Butler? Did the Lakers make the right move by bringing in Luka? And did the Mavericks make the right choice by betting on AD? Leave your opinions in the comments. Oh, and if you enjoyed this analysis, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. The NBA is on fire and I'll continue to bring everything to you. Thanks, and see you in the next video.